Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy. And we're going to do this 10 card spread, and then we're going to see what's going on in Aquarius energy and how they might be harnessing and handling different things in their life. But people are going to handle this energy differently because some people have tempered their ego and some of their fear and their insecurity and past pain and heartbreak, and some people are able to keep life in perspective and look at life from a bigger picture. So, it's like emotional maturity level. Some people will handle this, whatever the cards' energies are telling us. Some people will offer kind of like truth and love and all those good things to whatever's going on in their life to handle it in a more balanced, just and fair way. And some other people, they're not in that kind of energy yet. And they might get up in their head or their fear, or because of past pain and heartbreak, or because they're more prideful or egotistical or self-centered or something. They are going to handle this energy differently in their Aquarius energy. Wow, we have a lot of cards not showing themselves. So, there's a couple different ways that can be interpreted. The people who've already kind of seen the truth of some people in their life, they might, or some old ways of living their own life, they're doing this work within themselves to detach from harnessing these energies in a shadowy way, because then it kept them in a more worldly, shadowy energy, and it kept them in like jobs, friendships, and relationships with people that were happy they were in that energy, and they don't want to do that anymore. And when some people decided, I don't want to do that anymore, then some other people could be hiding the fact that, they got to grapple with now, what are they going to do? We start out with the Nine of Swords, which is Gemini energy, which is kind of like, what is my truth? Gemini is about our dualistic nature. Do I have more hope and faith and belief in myself and others, in love, or don't I? Is my truth, I'm kind of more about me or afraid of being hurt, so I'm going to operate more from my defensive egoic nature? Do I really want to make my life more about me or the world or things I want to go indulge in? Do I really want to do love? For the people in our life that we're kind of on the same page with, some people might wonder with some people in your life why you kind of get along with them. For the high vibe people, it's because you're people who look to the future, and you do work to work through your fears, your insecurities, your whatever, to keep looking at life from other people's perspectives. That sometimes people can look at life differently than us. And then we're like, oh my gosh, I would have never even looked at it that way. And in high vibe, the hangman is that you've been enlightened to the truth. And in the Five of Swords comes after the Four of Swords. High vibe people have healed. There was a way at one time that they were living their life, but they turned their back on it because they realized it wasn't aligned with their truth. Or they were kind of ready to move forward in life a little differently, kind of close out an old chapter, because in high vibe, the nines mean that we're on the edge of being able to move forward in life differently. But the difference between the Nine of Swords and the Five of Swords is the Four of Swords. The truth sets us free, and the Four of Swords talks about those things that cause us mind and heart conflict, that we see the truth. We kind of work through it to no longer let like our mind control us, our fear, the past, our past pain and heartbreak. We've been enlightened to the truth. Now, just because we've been enlightened to the truth doesn't mean that with all the people in our life that we want to keep moving forward with those people. We might have seen the truth. Oh my gosh, if I keep moving forward with those people, I'm going to feel stuck. It's to see the truth. Who are the people who seem to have healed And the Four of Swords is Libra energy. Who do I think kind of views what I think is just and fair kind of the same way I do? And who kind of has a different idea of what they think is just and fair? And the people in our life who we think, we try to see each other. The hangman can be like trying to see things from other people's perspectives, that, we do that for each other. And when one person kind of gets caught up in their head or is going through a difficult time or trying to make a decision, we're there trying to help them kind of work through it. Well, what if you were to do this? And how do you think you feel if you did that? And, Pisces energy of the hangman can be about the dreams that we have. And we don't want to get too much caught up in illusion or our head. And so the high vibe people in our life offer us love. Pisces is emotional water sign energy. And in Aquarius energy, they try to help us see things from a higher perspective and try to make just fair decisions in our life. And other people who've learned some lessons in life have learned to let love and intuition guide you, and based on the lessons that we've learned in life and who we think is being just and fair, who we do think is enlightened to the truth. And of course, at the core of it is, are people more motivated and inspired by love and to work together? And love is supposed to be just and fair, that work together with me cooperatively in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. And who are the people in my life who seem like love isn't the driving factor, it's something else. And so some people could really be giving a lot of thought to who they should move forward with, who they shouldn't move forward with, who they should try to heal and continue to maybe try to heal relationships with, and who they think, I feel like I've done everything I can. And, the fives talk about change. If some people are harnessing this energy in a high vibe way, but they're dealing with people who harness it in a more shadowy way, those people definitely might want you to stay in that job, friendship, or relationship, but they don't really care if you're stressed out. They don't care if you feel stuck. Shadowy Five of Swords, shadowy Aquarius can be, I have my truth. That's really the most important thing. I don't really care that much about your truth. And if I'm not motivated and inspired by love, and you are, oh well. Or if you think I should be more just and fair, oh well. Some people are stressed about doing love because the shadowy hangman can be that they have some things to heal from, because the difference between the 9 and the 5 is the Four of Swords. So it's kind of like the hangman represents the Four of Swords card. What is my truth? Am I balanced within myself? Can I do equal give and take? Can I change? Can I get out of my fear, my insecurity, or my stubbornness, or my ego? What about the people I'm in relationship with? Have they changed? Haven't they changed? Are they just, Pisces can be about trying to create an illusion. Is someone just trying to confuse me about the truth? That they've changed, but they haven't? you know? oh. For some people, they're not in the midst of having to make a decision like that. They already made the decision and they decided, there's some people in my life I'm not interested in being in a relationship with. I was enlightened to the truth. I have healed. I have changed. I'm no longer up in my head about it. At one time I could have been, but I did take this time while I felt stuck to expand my perception of myself and the world around me and what I believed is possible, and what my truth is and what I think is just and fair and what my dreams are and what I find emotionally fulfilling, and versus some of the other people in my life. And You work through it and you get to the point where you kind of realize that your truth and what you think is just and fair, and if you're more motivated by love and other people aren't, and you could feel like some people were being prideful and stubborn and trying to manipulate you or control you, and some people did want to win at all costs and they didn't care who got hurt as long as they maybe came out looking like the shining star. So some other people already have worked through these energies. They had to quit, see where they harness, because if we don't want to we'll all repeat an old pattern until we've been enlightened to the truth, because the truth sets us free. Well, they had to work through not harnessing these energies in a more shadowy, worldly way, because then they would still be drawn and attracted to people who could to some degree harness it themselves in a more worldly, shadowy way. The only person we can change is ourselves. So if I don't want to repeat that pattern, there's always going to be other people in the world that have whatever traits, characteristics, or ways of being, or whatever that some of the other people had that I was drawn and attracted to. I need to figure out why I was drawn and attracted to them to begin with. If eventually I came to realize that our truth isn't the same. And just like some other people who might be in a situation right now where they really kind of got to make a difficult decision, well, if they're high vibe, they're going to do this work within themselves, and some of them are. What is it? The Three of Cups and the Strength card. So, how do we harness our Cancer and our Leo energy? Are we kind of more manipulated by our more worldly, egoic nature? Maybe not sure if we can manifest our dreams into reality. Have we learned to love ourselves? I view high vibe Leo as being loving and nurturing to yourself and offering yourself the things that you wish other people would have offered you. So, offering yourself love and compassion, forgiveness. You're a fallible human being who makes mistakes and has to learn lessons. And we offer it to other people in our life. Doesn't mean, we want to be in a relationship with them again because they haven't learned to maybe love themselves or temper their ego. If the truth sets us free, the truth means you have to look at things a little differently. You have to see something or understand something or heal something or mature or something to do life differently. Otherwise, you're just taking action more out of your pride and ego. I have an idea. Ding, ding, ding. Light bulb. I know. I'm going to go do this. But why? Is it still because you're manipulated by your ego? Your fear? Because you're stuck? Because you got mental conflict? And some people are like, and over here we can have the mental conflict, we can have immaturity, we can have defensiveness, we could have defensiveness to love, we could have defensiveness to loving our own worldly nature, to free ourselves, to be a student of life, to learn lessons in life, work through our fear and insecurity, to move forward in life differently. So some people did this work and they realized in their Gemini nature of free will, I have the free will to love myself. And, it's like being your own best mother, father, coach voice in your own head. I can do that, or I can go look for other people to play that role in my life and do that for me. And that's kind of codependent energy. And there's a lot of people in the world who are in that energy. Some people think, well, that's not my job. That's why I get in a relationship. That's their job. They're supposed to be loving and encouraging to me. They're supposed to make everything better. Some people look to relationships like some people look to drugs and alcohol. Their vice isn't drugs and alcohol. Their vice is to get in relationships to feel better. And then they get in relationships with people and they still got all their same old issues because other people can only provide a loving and encouraging environment. The Three of Cups and Cancer energy is people who can be loving and encouraging and supportive, and high vibe Leo being loving and encouraging and authentic and inspiring. But people can only provide the environment. the other people have to do the work within themselves, and some people are like, no, that's not my truth. No, you be that. I'll stay up in my head, stuck with all my mental conflict. I just like being in relationships with people who are really loving and encouraging. That's like great. And the loving people are like, yeah, I think that would be great too, but that's not who you are. You seem to have a lot of stress. You seem to maybe have a little fear of love. Maybe operate more from your defensive egoic nature. So it's kind of challenging to work with you in a relationship. You seem a little hostile or defensive, or I just feel like you're kind of immature and you're just kind of indulging in the relationship. What is it? Why are you in it? Are you motivated by love? Are you willing to quit being in your defensive nature or more about yourself? Are you willing to try to see things that, because for some shadowy people, their ideal relationship is, well, I want to be like I am, whatever that is that's shadowy. I want to be emotionally manipulative, and shadowy Leo can be manipulative. I want to be stubborn. I don't want to have to try to see things from your opinion. I want to be defensive. I want to be immature. I have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. I know you get upset and you feel wounded, but you love me. Sometimes some people are like, I just need to find me a loving person to go manipulate. So they'll put a lot of work and effort and tolerate me like a parent would a child in a relationship. So they like a codependent relationship, an imbalanced relationship. And we've all probably been, to some degree, a bad friendship, a bad work relationship, or a bad romantic relationship, because we have these lessons to learn. We have the free will to stay in bad relationships, and if we want, or we work through it. Why would I stay in this? And it can be difficult because some of those people, you have love for. Some of them are your adult children. Some of them are your brother, your sister, your parent. Could even love a job, but some of the people there are like, oh my gosh, it's miserable to work with these people. So, whatever it is, there comes that time in people's life, and some people are shadowy and they're just wondering again, is the person I'm in a relationship with, can I manipulate them? Are they stuck? Do they have mental conflict? Are they defensive? Do they love and believe in themselves? And I think shadowy people are always fearful in a relationship because they know they have their own issues they deal with that they don't deal with. They don't like heal and grow and mature themselves. We can choose in shadowy energy, I want to stay in denial of the truth. I don't want to see the truth. I don't want to love myself. I don't want to temper my ego or my fears. I'm good. Things don't maybe work out the way I want, but I refuse to look at life any differently. I just decide I'm just going to keep being defensive to love. I'm going to keep defending my more immature behavior. I'm sure one day I'll find someone who wants to be in a relationship with me, however shadowy, to what degree I'm shadowy. And well, they can keep doing that. They just might have, the more immature someone is, the more bossy, controlling, stubborn, manipulative, fearful, insecure, the harder they, to a degree, you'd think they'd have a harder time finding someone to get in a relationship with. But I guess it depends on, maybe the people you hang out with or something. So there's some people that have already worked through this. Some other people are working through it, trying to figure out, how do they want to live their life? Do they want to be more manipulated by their worldly egoic nature? Be in relationships with people who are happy that they are? Stay in relationship with people who are trying to emotionally manipulate them and tempt them more in their pride and their ego and their lust and their greed and their fear and all that stuff? Or do they not want to be in a relationship with people like that? The people who get illuminated to the truth will maybe work through next telling some people in their life the truth. And the people who are shadowy, if they find out the person currently in their life seems to be kind of standing up for themselves, oh shit, can't move forward with those people. Damn, now I gotta go find. I wonder if there's anyone else I can manipulate. Or can I try to confuse them about the truth of who I am, and that you know what? I realize what you're talking about, and you're right. And I have been kind of, and out of their own fear, they'll keep moving forward in a mismatched relationship. The whole thing is everybody should go live their authentic life. If you're more immature, go be more immature. If you're more bossy and controlling, go find somebody who lets you be bossy and controlling. But what's really I don't like is when shadowy energy can be people who decide that it's a good idea to live more from their mind and their heart and try to create this illusion that there's something they're not because it's good maybe for their ego and their image, and people will move forward in relationships with them. And then at some future point in date, though, because that's not really even how they want to live their life. And it's really stressful because it's like being in a job that they're not qualified for. And they're kind of trying to do everything they can to make it seem like they know how to operate at a more balanced, stable, mature way than they really are capable of. And then they're always stressed out of what's going to happen next, because if they're in relationships with people who are more inspired to keep moving forward in hope and faith and belief and love, and they're already in a situation that's over their head, so fearful that the other people, and some of them is just lack mentality. The Five of Pentacles isn't on the table, but some people are really stressed out about other people seeing the truth, that they are kind of just creating an illusion about that they're more stable or grounded or mature than they really are. And then they're always afraid that the people they're in a relationship with one day will see the truth. How long can I make this last? How long do I think I can? And it's just like people who could be in a job right now, because at the end of the story here, we have the Ten of Pentacles. Just like some people do this in relationships, other people do this in jobs. Oh, shit. you know, I don't really like to put in work and effort. That can be high vibe Ten of Pentacles. But I got the job. They're expecting me to be motivated and inspired. That's high vibe energy, and especially the Ten of Pentacles and the Strength card. That I am naturally motivated and inspired to grow and mature myself and kind of learn these new things so that, I can keep learning new things and progressing in a job. But for some people, they took a job where they have an opportunity to really kind of move up in it. And that could have been the impression when people even offered them a job. We want you to take this job. And they're like, oh my God, okay. And they're in it and they feel really stuck. And part of it could be, I just don't believe I'm capable. I could have a hard time kind of doing the job I'm supposed to be doing. But I don't want you to know the truth of that, because I don't know, maybe you wouldn't keep me around at all, Anyway, we continue on. Some people have already done this work. Some people have healed. They're standing up for themselves. They're closing out a cycle. They're ready to move forward and have a new beginning. So it just takes time to, we can make a decision. The swords are air sign energy of the mind. We can all make a decision. We can all see the truth about things, but emotionally, Cancer and Pisces are both water sign energies. Emotionally, to work through detaching from something, that can take time. And some people, they don't want and aren't ready to get in something new until they have done all this work. And the Ten of Pentacles in Virgo energy is about doing that inner work within yourself. To love yourself, believe in yourself, work through your own fears and insecurities, work through how you could have been more looking for someone to love you versus you loving yourself. And of course, learning to love yourself, that is, when life kind of changes and you look at life differently. But that's a hard lesson. And we can all be tempted in our more egoic, worldly nature. There's these things of the world that we want to go indulge in, we want to go manifest. We all want stability and security. And, we can get in jobs and career fields and friendships and relationships that if we'd had a little more life experience, or if we maybe had listened to our intuition, we wouldn't have gotten in those career fields or those friendships or those relationships. But, the Nine of Wands and Sagittarius energy is about, we're on this journey of life to learn these lessons. And when and then we come together with all these different people in the world to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't, what we think is just and fair and what we don't think is just and fair. And, are we going to love ourselves? Are we not? Are we going to be in relationships with people who do or who don't? Immaturity, defensiveness, fear, and again, it's kind of learning as we go through life that, again, the only person I can change is me. But, for a lot of our life, we can spend a lot of time trying to change other people. And maybe because we love them, fire sign energy, we could be attracted to them. They could be in our family. They could be someone we wanted to be in a long-term friendship or relationship with, or we already had been in a long-term friendship or relationship, or we wanted to marry them or whatever, or we did marry them. But from all these life experiences, if we're willing to kind of see the truth that, sometimes we come into relationships with people, maybe because we are stressed and we are stuck and we're not sure, we're kind of at the same place at the same time, and the whole thing is, I think we can be drawn and attracted to certain people because they are someone that's going to help us get more clear about our truth one way or the other. We could help them maybe work through some issues that manipulate them to be able to let go of some of the more of the things that used to manipulate them, just like they can provide that for us to some degree. And if we kind of look at how, assuming it wasn't so bad initially anyway, it could have been pretty bad at the end, but it could have provided just being in community with other people, being in friendships with people, having a job, and if we're willing to kind of see how, kind of again, looking at the bright side instead of the negative side, focus on those things that were good about it, and how it could have, even if you were in a relationship with someone who's negative, it kind of forced you to have to do this work within yourself to love and believe in yourself, or you would have kept staying stuck in it. And so, if nothing else, that was a very valuable, very abundant emotional lesson to learn. If it helped you learn to stand up for yourself, or speak your truth, and if that previously was an issue for you, then that was a blessing, and then you take the lessons that you've learned. If you used to be someone more up in your head, maybe this whole situation made you learn to appreciate yourself and value yourself and feel more stable and grounded within yourself. And that is a great blessing, right? Okay, so back to the middle line here. Some people are being illuminated to they're kind of looking at life differently and starting to see things differently, and kind of maybe instead of, Virgo energy of the Ten of Pentacles can talk about taking some time alone to self-reflect, not engaging as much in some things that previously could have been a distraction from having to do that. But then we could even if it's just whatever it is that we do, if it's uh maybe things that, we can't just think, maybe always out with other people, and it doesn't give us that time alone, but for a while it might make us feel better. But then when that is over, we still are stuck with the same mental conflict. So some people did decide to take this time and are taking this time to really think about, what are my dreams? What is my truth? What do I think is just and fair? Let's go see what those are about. The Two of Cups, the Six of Pentacles, and the Wheel of Fortune. So again, it can kind of be, I kind of view the Two of Cups, which also is Cancer energy. Again, what are we going to align with? Again, we have our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. We have our more worldly, egoic nature. What are we going to love? What are we going to align with? And the Six of Pentacles is Taurus energy, which is this philosophy of life. Is it more about me, the world, fear, indulgence, learning, ego? Is it about healing and growing and maturing and kind of looking at life differently? And then we have these different people we can be in a relationship with. Some people could be stressed because they could have gotten in a relationship with someone. Maybe initially they were loving and encouraging. And then as time went by, it seemed like not as loving. Maybe, we can all kind of get to be where, it does get to be a little bit of, kind of what's that phrase? Well, a little boring. I'll say that. They're just the normal routines of life. Well, we don't want to make a decision just because we have the free will to bring more spark and life and encouragement into our own life, our own, and relationships. But we could have gotten in a relationship, could have been kind of gung-ho initially, and then shadowy Six of Pentacles can be where it kind of seems like it's more transactional, or one of the person has a more transactional view of relationships. The other person is more, well, I don't want to just be in a transactional relationship. That's like, well, we should be in a relationship because, well, who else would you be in a relationship with? I don't necessarily want to be in a relationship with, who wants to be in a relationship with someone for those reasons? Or, well, I have these things, you have those things. Well, that's fine if it's a friendship. And maybe with some people who are just dealing with friends, what friends should I go move in with or hang out with more? One could be a little more fire sign energy, maybe a little more creative, inspired, but I kind of feel like maybe they're manipulative or a little full of themselves. The other person might be more grounded, more balanced. There's more equal give and take, but maybe it's not kind of that. Some more of that little more wild or craziness, right? Vice versa. It could be a lot of different things. But we can also get in relationships and we kind of realize that how we view relationships, and again, at the core, kind of between these two, that the Hangman is also kind of representing the Four of Swords. what do we kind of think is just and fair? Does someone think it's just and fair to act more shadowy? Taurus can be stubborn. Shadowy Pisces card can represent stubbornness. Is there other people, or are the people I'm working with, are they more enlightened to the truth and do more equal give and take? But if I'm in a relationship with them, you know, I can't kind of use my emotions and my looks and my charm and my sexuality or whatever to try to emotionally manipulate them. I would really have to, high vibe Taurus is walk the talk. So some people are like, oh my gosh, who is who? Who really is with character and integrity? Who really is more tempting me more in my worldly nature? Like I say, some people already went through this. They've already cut the people out of their life who they felt maybe harnessed shadowy Cancer energy, where they just felt like it was a little more emotionally manipulative. Shadowy Leo Taurus, a little bit more. They either wanted to be indulged, or it was more about the ego or the image or them or something. And the high vibe people wanted to work together with people who harness those energies in a high vibe way. They authentically are motivated and inspired to work together with people from love. That is authentically who they are. And they want to do equal give and take. Some shadowy people had some high vibe people like that who aren't in a relationship with them anymore. Some of those people could be kind of stressed because they could have decided, we can be in relationships and some things can come up that can get everybody a little stressed out. People are feeling a little stuck. There's kind of, how are we going to work together? How are we going to work this out? And some of the people who harness this energy in a more shadowy way, they're maybe not able to offer love to themselves to get themselves as much out of their head and their fears or their ego or their defensiveness. And so then, it's like that emotional maturity level where the other people were able to do that within themselves. And they were able to try to look at things from the other person's perspective. But the other person could have a harder time doing that just because of their emotional maturity level. And then sometimes the shadowy people will make a decision to be defensive, which is kind of trying to emotionally manipulate people to get them to do what you want. And some, if they're quite kind of stubborn, shadowy, this is the way we're supposed to do it. You seem to maybe have worked through some issues that you kind of look at life differently, and now you're not sure if this is how you want to move forward. Well, to hell with you, I'm moving on. And it's like, I'll go find someone else to go get in a relationship with. So that's with some people who didn't seem to really be motivated by love, you figure. you know and some of them are quite immature, and some of them do have these illusions about themselves and are kind of full of themselves. And that's a shadowy relationship. I think it should be a little bit more or a lot more about me, and it should be more my way. And if push comes to shove, that's their truth and that's what they will stand up for. And if they have things that they defend or people in their life that, and sometimes you can get in a relationship with people and you find out that, do they want to be in a relationship and move forward with you in a relationship? Yeah, but there's some other foundation in their life that is more the primary foundation in their life. If that's their friend group, if that's their original family group, the Ten of Pentacles could represent them defending, being more about themselves. That's not a very just and fair and authentic and loving relationship, right? You can't be more defensive of it just being more about you. We're supposed to work together for a common goal from love. And sometimes as you try to work through these issues with people, and some people are going through it right now, is kind of starting to see at a core foundational truth after having gone through all these different things together in friendship or relationship that I think I'm starting to see that their truth really isn't love. It's more about them or more about the money or the status or the ego or the image or indulging someone to be in a relationship for whatever reason. But I don't really think it's love. You might know some people, you're harnessing this energy in a high vibe way. I've already dealt with people who were manipulative, who were controlling, who live more from their mind than their heart, who are stubborn, prideful, more aligned with their worldly nature and their egoic nature and more about themself nature. And we can experience that to different degrees with different people. And some high vibe people are like, I'm done doing that. If you want to work together with me, you can work with me, but not if you're still in this energy. You have to see the truth that this is shadowy ways of being when you harness these energies in a shadowy way. And I'm not going to want to heal a relationship with you if you keep acting and behaving that way. And the Nine of Wands can be that some people have already moved away from some people and they're maintaining good boundaries within themselves because these people have wounded them. And in the midst of that, they've been focusing on looking to the future and looking to the people in their life who harness high vibe Pisces, Aquarius, Sagittarius, Virgo, Gemini. People who seem to be more mature, more insightful, more just, more fair, more balanced, have better boundaries within themselves so that they don't indulge in their more shadowy nature, more loving. And because some people did do that and some people are doing it, it's helping them close out this cycle in their life. And seeing the truth, my dream, I could have people in my life that I want, the Ten of Pentacles can represent, I wanted them to be my friend all my life. Maybe we've known each other pretty much all our life. Or I wanted to get along, the Ten of Pentacles can be family. I wanted to get more along with my family member. Or it was someone I wanted to marry. Or it was someone I was married to. But my dream can only come into reality with someone who's kind of standing up and defending from a position of the same truth in their Gemini energy of free will. And for some people, that is being just and fair and taking action, taking responsibility for being balanced within yourself, knowing how to love yourself, how to fill your own cup, not looking to get in a relationship where you are supposed to be the answer to all my problems. Oh, and by the way, if my issues bubble up, I might turn my back on you and go to find someone else because you didn't solve my problems. My problems came bubbling back up. It's like, yeah, you're going to have all your problems and your fears and your insecurities within you until you work through them. People can only provide a just and fair and loving and encouraging environment for you to do that work within yourself. But some people don't ever want to do that work. And they might want to keep being in a relationship with you and they want you to keep indulging them in their poor behavior. And high vibe people are like, that's not just and fair. Love is supposed to be just and fair. You are supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. You seem to have some illusions about what it means to work together with people cooperatively in a workplace or a friendship group or a family dynamic. So, but for the people who are still dealing with some of these kinds of people in their life, if some of these people are doing this work within themselves, the people in their life that they used to more indulge, they were in this energy and shadowy, and this person always came and kind of indulged them. I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm this, I'm that, or I'm just being bossy and controlling. Aren't you out of your own fear and whatever going to come indulge me, love me? And for some, the other people are like, I'm not sure if I want to keep doing that. And the other people are like, what the hell? What the hell? What is going on over here? Now some of those people are starting to get worried. Shit. Was that one day too much of being immature or bossy or prideful or stubborn? Because that's the thing. One day judgment day comes in any relationship. There can be people who can indulge people in a relationship in poor behavior for a long time. And sadly, the kind of people who harness this energy in a shadowy way keep thinking the high vibe people in their life are just going to keep doing it forever. And one day the high vibe people in their life are like, I don't know that I want to keep doing that. Guess how the people who are used to being indulged, how they're going to react? Not well. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy that have stood up for themselves, have cut some people out of their life, got other people trying to do the same shit, and they're like, no. The Seven of Cups. Why? Because of the Knight of Wands. So the Knight of Wands, like the Nine of Wands, is Sagittarius energy, fire sign energy of being inspired to wrap your brain around this game of life and learn the lesson you're meant to learn so you don't keep repeating a pattern over and over and over. And if we add the one wand to the Nine of Wands, we have the Ten of Wands, which is completing a cycle. And I'm going to drop the burden. All I can do is speak my truth, offer love and encouragement to people in their free will of Gemini. They have the free will to work together with me in that energy. And some of them just can't decide. Okay, I wish you peace. I'm moving on. And in the Seven of Cups, kind of Scorpio energy of exploring the mysteries of life. Well, God, my dream isn't coming into reality here. And God's like, that's right, pumpkin. What are you going to do? Well, I felt stuck for a really long time and I've really been up in my head and I'm really defensive. It's like, we can offer peace and love to everyone and hope everyone heals. But in the meantime, I'm moving on. Because it's kind of like shadowy energy within ourselves and shadowy energy in the world tries to stop us from giving birth to what we should give birth to in our life and our dreams and all those things. And sometimes you're the one that the shadowy energy couldn't stop. At the big picture, the devil's like the shadowy energy. Sometimes the devil stops other people in your life, trying to use the love that you have for them to manipulate them. And sometimes you got to tell the devil, I've been more immature and prideful and up in my head and blah, blah, blah. I had people in my life that offered me love and encouragement, and some of them I did not listen to, probably a lot of them. And I had to go learn these lessons on my own. And I still had people who could be loving and encouraging people in my life, but they probably weren't hanging out with me as much as they used to. But if I called them and reached out, they would kind of be guarded and defensive, but they would be loving and encouraging because that's the type of person they are. Do I still want to hang out with you more? No, I don't know that we're there yet. I have some conflict because you were kind of hurtful and unkind and unjust and immature, and I didn't really like that, to be around that energy that much. And so God wants us to see the truth. The people who are ready to kind of move forward in this energy would have been ready to move forward with us in this energy, but it's just a sign that there's some things they need to work through. And until they work through it and they have the free will to work through it or never work through it. So go enjoy your life, Sagittarius. Go on this adventure. While they're trying to learn what they needed to learn in life and go on their adventure, you go on your adventure. And the Seven of Cups in Scorpio talks about exploring the mysteries of life. And life is kind of hard to understand, but it's all trying to get people, they have free will to do just and fair, truthful, honest, authentic, and loving, mature relationships, or not, and to grow and mature and heal themselves, or not. And I think this game of life is set up that you can try to think you can cheat the justice system and go about it your way. You might end up with all the things of the world, but I think eventually people realize if it's not inspired by love, Scorpio's another water sign energy, high vibe Scorpio's about deep, meaningful relationships. You kind of are living and being and living a much more superficial life, like making your life more about you, more about your ego, your image, or what you wear, or how much money you have, because you make that so important. Can high vibe people have all those things? Status, image, money, nice clothes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but they don't, it's not the most important thing in their life. They're inspired. They're in jobs and careers and relationships and friendships with people who in turn equally motivate and inspire them to love and believe in themselves. That is the energy that we thrive best in. And some people thought, no, I got problems with that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make my life about these other things. And they can end up with all these things of the world, but they don't have people in their life who authentically, they're either not loving, and it takes both people being loving. Either they're not loving or they're in relationships with people who aren't loving, or they're both not loving. And then you have all these things of the world, and it's like a resounding gong of lack of that spark of creativity and anticipation and excitement and love. So the high vibe people are going on a new journey and they have lots of options ahead of them. Some of the people who could have liked to have wanted to be in a relationship with you, but only if you were in this energy, since they see you loving and believing in yourself, they got to go find someone else to try to get in a relationship with. And then as you're moving forward, there's other people who have been in a relationship with people like this that have also been wounded by people like this. And they could see you as someone, assuming you're not in a relationship, that they would like to get out of their defensiveness because they see that you are focused on truth and love, maintaining balance within yourself, having good boundaries, and insightful and mature and loving, and not like some of the hurtful people in their life. And you could go on a new adventure with them. What's coming up for people who harness some more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy that they might not see coming up? So if people are letting their stress and their fear and their defensiveness and the past and their lust or their greed or their pride or their ego run their life, what's coming up that they don't, or just got some lessons to learn? We've all been there. The King of Cups and the Five of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Strength card. So they had the opportunity to temper their fears and offer love. The Five of Pentacles can be our worldly nature and our kind of feeling left out in the cold and maybe not feeling good enough, and offer our self-love to keep moving forward in life, especially if there's people in our life who harness this energy in a shadowy way, where from their ego, they're trying to present themselves as being more inspired by love, but it's really just kind of more of a mental construct. And you kind of can tell because you kind of feel left out in the cold in the relationship. The more worldly, shadowy people, that is their philosophy of life in their Taurus energy. This is how you're supposed to do life. If you do love, you get hurt. I'm not doing that. I'm going to hide behind my ego. I'm going to wear my false mask, present myself as a tempered, loving family person, and you should move forward and keep moving forward with me in a relationship. And some of the people in their life are like, have been, because they've been afraid of detaching from them and moving forward. But some of the people in their life are going to, and they're going to go find people who really do harness high vibe Cancer, high vibe Leo, high vibe Taurus. People who have tempered their ego, are who they say they are more independent of their worldly egoic nature, inspired by love. Because the shadowy people are always going to have people in their life, some people in their life, who have been trying to offer them love and encouragement, to work through their issues, to move forward with them. But if, when it keeps not happening, eventually the high vibe people in their life are like, I don't know what it is, and I don't have to know what it is. And everybody has the free will to live their life the way they want it. And if this isn't your truth, it's not your truth. I don't want someone to be in a relationship with me for the wrong reasons, and I don't want to be in a relationship with you for the wrong reasons. So I wish you peace, and out of love for myself, I'm going to move on. And I'm going to close out this chapter with you. And if some of the people, who never work through these issues, that's why they're always afraid. They're always afraid that other people they're in a relationship with will heal. Because then those people will be inspired to move forward differently because they work through some of the things that manipulate them. Let's go ask, why do some people just refuse to see the truth about some issues that they could benefit from being willing to see the truth of? Why are they so unwilling to do that? Somewhere along the line, they decided that was the safer choice. And it could have been life experiences they saw with other people. Like they could have grown up in families where one person was kind of like a loving and encouraging person, and another person kind of got their way. And they kind of debated between the two, and they thought, I think I'll be the person who's going to be more indulged. And they'd have to kind of look at, when did I take that philosophy? Let's go see. The Queen of Wands, the Page of Pentacles, the Emperor, and the Six of Cups. And the reason is because of the Eight of Cups. So this in shadow can be a card of being in your ego because it's shadow. I view it as Leo energy. The Emperor in shadow can be kind of bossy and controlling, but it's basically they're being a bad parent to themselves. They indulge their more immature worldly nature. And all three of their earth sign energies, they're in their, as a human being, they are definitely locked in their philosophy of life of being more about the world. In their Virgo, their Taurus, and their Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn energy. They've definitely been manipulated by their more immature worldly nature. And they keep thinking if they make their life about that, that they'll be happy, that this will lead to wish fulfillment. And they turn their back on. So the 8, 9, and 10 is Pisces energy, which can be having these illusions. They turn their back on high vibe Scorpio energy of being in deep, meaningful relationships. I don't want to do that. I just want to indulge myself in relationships. I indulge myself. I want to be in relationships with other people who indulge me. I think that's just and fair. And so, just maybe the water signs are offset by on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel from the earth signs. Some people are just tipped out of balance and they might stay that way all their life. I don't want to get more balance between my worldly nature and my emotionally intuitive creative nature. In their fire sign energy, they're more motivated to be about themselves or the things of the world. And because of that, can they be kind of like fiery, passionate, attractive, charming, or whatever type of people? Yeah. But they don't really want to kind of temper their ego to really do a more, where it's just not more about them or these things of the world. And they're going to have some, and that's kind of why they get in the relationship, why they want to stay in the relationship. It's all for kind of more how it benefits them in a worldly sense. And if they have some people in their life that are more tempered in their ego between their fiery nature and their emotional nature in their philosophy of life and their Taurus energy, those people are going to move on from them. And then they'll be stressed out because they probably did have someone in their life who was loving and encouraging and they loved being in a relationship with someone like that. But then they just want to indulge in it. They never want to really align with being that type of person authentically themselves. And it can be, I just want to wear this false mask that I'm just like you. It's like, but you're not. I get your cardboard cutout person. I really am kind of motivated and inspired by these things. You're living more from your mind than your heart and your ego. And and it can be that, for all we know, I mean, we do have the Bible, but, if we if life is coming down to life to have free will, that means we have to have these choices available. For all we know, some people before they came could have said, you know, the great creator of the game of life said, well, you're all going to go down there to find out how hard it is to temper your being more about yourself and abusing power and being selfish and greedy. You're going to go down there with your more worldly, egoic nature, but you're going to have the seeds planted within you equally, the knowledge of the tree of evil, good and evil, of your more loving, creative, inspired, intuitive nature, like your gift of knowing there's more. But you have the free will to pick this, pick that, or be someone who goes in between. And for all we know, some people purposely signed up to I'll be a worldly person. I think that'll be great. And some people said, I will be more aligned with hope and faith and belief and love. And then other people could be people who, those people have to be represented in the world. And then there's other people in the world who are the other people who have to pick between, and we also still have to pick because, it also sometimes makes me think about, I can't find it again, but I had Googled something about if angels had free will. And I read somebody's like college dissertation about, with these quotes and everything, that they believe that the angels did have free will. And of course, the devil wanted to be like God, and so many of the angels went with the devil, and so many of the angels didn't. And it's kind of again that, we're just playing out these bigger energies that are happening at a much bigger scale, good versus evil, or shadowy versus giving birth to new things, staying stuck, not giving birth to new things, giving birth to new things. And we have the free will to decide which ones we align with. And, some people, their truth is they are more about the world, they are more, and it can just be self protective and self defensive. So, Um, and everybody has free will. We need all sorts of people in the world. It all serves a greater purpose. That is part of the mystery of life. But part of being enlightened to the truth is kind of working through these mysteries of life, that I have free will, I choose truth and love. And the other people have their free will, and I'm going to wish them peace, and I'm going to move on. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.